They say love comes only once in a lifetime, but what if it arrives again when you're already married? My name is Sahiba, and what I'm about to share isn't a story I'm proud of. It's the truth that changed everything about who I thought I was. Before I start the story, if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it with your friends. I live in London, a city that never really sleeps, but somehow, I did. For 10 long years, I lived the same days, repeating like a silent movie on loop. My husband, Vakas, is a kind man, responsible, hardworking, polite, but somewhere between bills, jobs, and responsibilities, we forgot what love felt like. We became two polite strangers sharing the same roof, exchanging words out of habit, not affection. Every morning, he left for work with the same routine: black coffee, a quick goodbye, and silence. I used to watch him through the kitchen window, wondering if he even noticed me anymore. I wanted to believe our marriage still had warmth, but our hearts had turned cold long before I realized it. My friends often told me, Sahiba, that's marriage. It becomes dull after some years. I nodded, pretending to agree, but inside, I refused to believe that love had an expiry date. There was still a woman inside me who wanted to feel something, wanted to laugh, to be seen, to be touched not just out of duty but out of love. That feeling, that emptiness, was the quiet storm inside me. And that storm found its spark one random December evening. It was cold, the kind of night where London's streets glowed with Christmas lights, and couples walked hand in hand while I sat by the window scrolling through my phone. My feed was filled with everyone's happy moments, vacations, dinners, anniversaries, and I wondered when I stopped having those moments of my own. Then it happened. A message from someone named Ajmal. At first, I thought it was just another stranger on the internet. His profile picture showed a young man, maybe 22, with messy hair, a charming half smile, and eyes that seemed to see beyond the surface. His message was short, but it hit somewhere deep. You have the kind of eyes that tell stories. Are you a writer? I stared at it for a while. My first instinct was to ignore it. But something about his words felt different. Not flirty. Not shallow. Curious. Genuine. I didn't reply that night. But I thought about it over and over again. No one had looked at me, really looked at me, in years. Not even my husband. The next morning, while sipping my coffee, I found myself opening that message again. And before I could stop myself, I typed back. No, I'm not a writer. Just someone who loves capturing feelings. That one reply opened a door I didn't know existed. He replied within minutes. Then maybe that's even more beautiful. And that was how it began, my fall, my freedom, my destruction. Over the next few days, Ajmal and I started talking. At first, it was casual, about photography, about life, about random things like how rain makes cities look poetic. But slowly, our conversations started to feel personal. He asked me what made me smile, what made me sad, what I wanted in life. No one had asked me that in years. I told him small things about how I loved old songs, how I wished to visit Paris someday, how I missed writing letters. He listened. Really listened. And somehow, that was enough to make my heart remember what it felt like to beat again. He told me he was a student, working part-time in a coffee shop, studying media. He had dreams of becoming a filmmaker, of telling stories that could make people feel something real. He said, I think people forget how powerful emotions are. We live pretending not to care, but deep down, everyone's breaking a little. and maybe that's what connected us. Two souls pretending to be fine. Days turned into nights, and nights turned into long conversations. I started waiting for his messages. The sound of my phone became the sound of my heartbeat. It felt innocent at first, like a friendship built on shared loneliness. But loneliness has a strange way of blurring lines. One evening, Vakas came home early. I was on my phone, smiling at something Ajmal had texted. Vakas looked at me and asked, "What's so funny?" I panicked, my heart racing. "Just something I saw online," I replied quickly. He nodded, not really caring enough to ask again. That's when it hit me, the guilt, the realization that I was hiding something. But another part of me whispered, at least someone makes you smile again. The more Ajmal and I talked, the more I felt alive. He was young, spontaneous, full of dreams. I was 10 years older, but around him, I didn't feel old. I felt seen. He'd say things like, "You have the kind of smile people write poems about," or "You sound like someone who forgot how beautiful she is." No one had ever said those things to me, not even when I was newly married. Weeks passed. Our chats turned into late-night calls. He started sending voice notes, and his voice, it had warmth. The kind of warmth I didn't realize I was craving. He called me Sahiba ji, sometimes, teasingly, and I'd laugh. He said he liked the way I said his name, Ajmal. Simple, soft, like a secret only we knew. But behind every laugh, there was guilt. Every time I talked to him, a voice inside whispered, "You're married. This isn't right." But the louder voice said, "But this feels right." Then one night, everything changed. It was around midnight when he sent a message. "I have to tell you something, but I'm scared." I replied instantly, "Scared of what?" "Of how you'll react," he said. "Because I think I'm falling for you." My fingers froze. I read it again and again. My heart started beating so fast I could hear it echo in my room. I wanted to tell him no. That this was wrong. That he was too young and I was too married. But instead, I typed Ajmal and stopped. He replied, "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know." I didn't sleep that night. I kept staring at the ceiling, feeling a storm rise inside me. Because deep down, I knew the truth I didn't want to admit. I was falling too. That night after Ajmal told me he was falling for me, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about his words, the warmth in his voice, the way he said my name as if it meant something. My heart felt alive again, but with that life came a strange kind of fear. I knew I was crossing a line, but I didn't know how to stop. It was like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing one more step could destroy everything, yet still being drawn to the fall. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I made breakfast, smiled at Vakas when he came down, poured his coffee just the way he liked it, 2 spoons of sugar and a dash of milk. But when he looked at me, it was like looking through glass. There was no warmth, no spark, no trace of the man who once held my hand like I was his world. He ate quietly, checking his phone between bites. I wanted to tell him something, anything, but the silence between us had grown too thick to break. When he left for work, I stood by the window again, watching his car disappear, feeling the same emptiness crawl back inside me. Then my phone buzzed. It was Ajmal. "Good morning, sleepyhead," he wrote. "Did you dream of me?" I smiled before I could stop myself. It was wrong, but I needed that smile. I replied, "Not sure. Maybe." He sent a laughing emoji, then said, "You always sound so serious. I want to see you smile more often." And somehow, that became our routine. Mornings filled with his messages, nights filled with his voice. We talked about everything: music, childhood memories, fears, dreams. He'd tell me about his university life, his part-time job at the cafe, his plans to travel once he graduated. I'd tell him about my favorite books, about London's winter rains, about the kind of peace I used to feel long ago. He started sending me pictures of random things: a cup of coffee with a heart drawn in the foam, a streetlight glowing in the fog, his sketchbook filled with messy drawings. Each picture came with a caption, small pieces of his world that he wanted me to see. It felt like I was becoming a part of something again, like life was opening up a window I'd forgotten existed. But guilt never left me. It waited quietly, like a shadow that followed me everywhere. Sometimes at night, I'd lie beside Vakas, pretending to scroll through messages while Ajmal's name flashed on my screen. I'd turn the brightness down and reply under the blanket. My heart would race every time Vakas moved, scared he might see, scared he might ask. But he never did. Maybe he didn't want to know. Or maybe he had already stopped caring. One evening, Ajmal asked if he could call me on video. My first instinct was no. It felt too real. But something inside me wanted to see his face move, to hear his laugh without a filter. So I agreed. When his face appeared on the screen, my heart skipped. He looked even younger than I imagined, boyish, pure, eyes filled with mischief and innocence. "You look exactly how I thought you would," he said. I laughed nervously. "And how's that?" "Like someone who hides storms behind calm eyes," he replied softly. That one line made me forget the world around me. It felt like he saw straight through me, into every silent tear, every buried emotion. We talked for almost an hour that night. When the call ended, I sat there staring at the blank screen, realizing how deeply I had already fallen. Days passed, and our connection grew stronger. We talked about meeting one day. He said he wanted to take me out for coffee, to the cafe where he worked. He said he'd keep it simple, no pressure, just two souls who understood each other. The idea scared me and thrilled me at the same time. Then one afternoon, while I was cooking, Vakas came home early. He looked tired, his face serious. He said, "Sahiba, can we talk?" My heart froze. "About what?" He hesitated for a moment. "I don't know. You seem different lately." Distant. I forced a small smile. "Maybe I've just been tired." He nodded slowly, then said, "I hope that's all it is." I knew it wasn't. I could see the doubt in his eyes. But even then, he didn't ask anything more. He just went to his room and shut the door. That night, I stared at him while he slept. There was a time when just watching him breathe gave me peace. But now, all I felt was confusion. My heart belonged somewhere else, and I didn't know how to take it back. Ajmal kept asking when I'd meet him. I kept avoiding the answer. Then one day he said, "Maybe you're scared you'll fall even more if we meet." I replied, "Maybe I already have." Silence followed. And then he said, "Then let's just see each other once. I promise it'll be enough." I knew it wouldn't be. But I also knew I didn't have the strength to resist anymore. So I said yes. That one word would change everything. It was a Saturday morning when Ajmal finally asked me if I wanted to meet him in person. His message popped up on my screen just as I was making breakfast. Let's grab coffee today. No filters. Just real faces and real smiles. My heart skipped a beat. For weeks, we had shared words, laughter, and late-night confessions through screens, but the idea of seeing him in real life made everything suddenly real. I typed back, yes, before I could even think twice. By noon, I was standing in front of a small cafe near the old town square. The sky was cloudy, soft wind brushing my hair, the air carrying that gentle smell of rain and roasted coffee. My hands were cold, and my heart raced like I was 16 again. I hadn't felt this nervous in years, not even on my wedding day. I saw him before he saw me. Ajmal stood near the window, looking down at his phone. He wore a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled, his hair slightly messy. There was something calm about him, something that made the noise of the street fade away. When his eyes lifted and met mine, he smiled, not the polite kind of smile people use out of habit, but the kind that feels like recognition, like he had been waiting for this exact moment. Sahiba, he said, walking toward me. His voice had that same warmth I had imagined so many times. Yes, I replied softly, my lips curving into a shy smile. For a few seconds, we just stood there, looking at each other, realizing that all those messages, all those nights of talking, had brought us to this dot. We sat by the window. The world outside moved, cars passed, people laughed, but for us, everything slowed down. He asked about my life, my dreams, my favorite music. I told him about my little routines, about how I loved early mornings but hated waking up. He laughed, saying he was the same. He listened, not like others do, waiting for their turn to speak, but really listened. Every time I looked at him, I saw understanding in his eyes. At one point, he said quietly, "You know, it's strange. I've known you for such a short time, but it feels like I've known you for years." I smiled, hiding how much that line affected me. Maybe it was just a nice thing to say, or maybe it was real. Whatever it was, it filled a space inside me that had been empty for too long. Hours passed without us noticing. He told me about his dreams, his struggle to build something on his own. I admired that fire in him, that hunger to do more, to be more. Somewhere between laughter and shared silence, I forgot the ring on my finger. For the first time in years, I felt alive, not as someone's wife or someone's mother, but as me. When it was time to leave, he walked me to my car. The wind had grown colder, and I wrapped my scarf tighter. He looked at me for a long second, his eyes searching mine. "So, was it what you expected?" he asked softly. I smiled. "No," I whispered. "It was better." He laughed quietly and nodded. "Good." Because I was scared it would ruin everything. "It didn't," I said. "It made things harder." He tilted his head. "Harder?" "To walk away," I murmured. For a moment, silence held us. Then, gently, he said, "Some things are not meant to be walked away from." Those words followed me all the way home. When I reached the house, everything felt different. The walls, the rooms, even the air. Vakas was sitting on the couch watching TV. He looked up, smiled faintly, and asked, "Where were you? You look happy." I froze for a second. "I met an old friend," I lied. He nodded and turned back to the screen. That was all. No questions, no curiosity. And somehow, that hurt more than anything. That night, lying beside him, I kept thinking about Ajmal's eyes, his voice, his words. Guilt wrapped around me like a shadow, but so did desire. Desire for something I couldn't name, freedom, maybe, or love. In the next few days, our chats turned more emotional. We weren't just two people talking anymore. We were confessing things we couldn't say to anyone else. He told me, "You know, sometimes I feel like I waited all my life just to meet you." And I said, "Maybe we met to remind each other what love feels like." But sometimes, I noticed small things, little gaps in his stories. Like when he said he lived alone, but I once heard a woman's voice in the background. When I asked, he said it was the TV. Or when he promised he'd call but disappeared for a whole night. Still, I didn't question him. I didn't want to ruin the dream I was living. Until one evening, I saw something that froze my heart. Ajmal posted a new story on Instagram, a casual video of him at a restaurant. In the reflection of the mirror behind him, there was a girl. Young, smiling, and her hand was resting on his. I stared at the screen for a long time, my fingers trembling. I replayed it again and again, hoping I was wrong. When I finally asked him about it, he replied after an hour. "She's just a friend, Sahiba. Don't overthink." But something in his tone had changed. The warmth was fading. The messages got shorter. The calls got rarer. Still, I kept holding on, telling myself maybe he was just busy, maybe I was just insecure. But deep down, I knew something was breaking again. I had walked into a storm thinking it was a sunrise. And as I lay in bed that night, I whispered to myself, maybe this was my punishment for trying to feel alive again. But I didn't know then, this was just the beginning of a story that would change everything. Because the truth about Ajmal was darker than anything I could imagine. And soon, the woman who thought she had betrayed her marriage would realize she was the one being betrayed all along. Before the next sunrise, my life would never be the same. And that's where this chapter ends. If you're still watching, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional and shocking stories like this one. The morning after that sleepless night, I woke up feeling like something inside me had changed. The sunlight coming through the window felt dull, almost fake. Vakas was already gone for work, leaving behind the usual note on the fridge, "Lunch in the oven. Take care." It was strange how routine could make a person invisible. Everything about my married life felt so predictable, the same meals, the same words, the same silence. But now, I couldn't stop thinking about Ajmal's story, about that reflection in the glass behind him. I told myself not to spiral, but it was useless. I opened Instagram again, hoping maybe he'd post something that would clear my doubts. But there was nothing new. Just the same smiling face I had fallen for, a smile that now looked like a mask. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I messaged him. "Me, Ajmal, are you free to talk?" He didn't reply for hours. When he finally did, the message was short. "Ajmal, busy. What's up?" That tone, cold, distant, different. I stared at the screen for minutes before replying. "Me, I just miss you." He didn't even read it. It was strange how quickly silence can grow between two people who once couldn't stop talking. Later that evening, when I finally saw his message, it said only, "Ajmal, don't worry, Sahiba. I'm still here. Still here." Two words that felt like a lie. That night, as I sat on my balcony, sipping tea, the world around me looked beautiful, soft lights, a quiet street, the smell of rain, but inside, I was falling apart. I had risked everything for this feeling, and now it was slipping away without even a fight. The next day, I decided to call him. When he answered, his voice sounded different, distracted, cautious. I could hear faint music in the background and a girl's laughter somewhere close. Where are you? I asked quietly. He paused before replying, just out with friends. Friends? I repeated, my heart tightening. Yeah. Don't worry so much, Sahiba. You're overthinking again. Overthinking. That word hit me harder than it should have. He used to say I was deep, emotional, thoughtful. Now suddenly I was overthinking. I didn't argue. I just said, okay, and hung up. But I couldn't stop the thoughts. Who was he really out with? Why was he hiding things? Days passed, and Ajmal became a ghost. Sometimes he'd vanish for 2 days straight, then come back with sweet words and random excuses. And I kept forgiving him, because I didn't want to lose what we had, even if it was already half gone. One afternoon, while scrolling through social media, I found something that made my heart freeze. A mutual follower had posted a picture from a local event. There, in the background, was Ajmal, dressed in the same white shirt he wore when we first met. And beside him, the same girl from that restaurant video. Her hand was again on his arm, and they looked too close to be just friends. I felt my chest tighten, my hands go cold. I zoomed in, hoping maybe it was a coincidence, maybe my eyes were lying. But they weren't. It was him. It was her. That night, when he finally texted me, pretending everything was normal, something inside me snapped. Me. Who is she? Ajmal, who? Me, the girl in the picture. Don't say friend again. Just tell me the truth. He took a long time to reply. And when he finally did, his message broke me. Ajmal, Sahiba, please don't make this complicated. You knew what this was. I stared at that line until my vision blurred. You knew what this was. What did that even mean? To me, it was love. To him, maybe it was just a story, a temporary escape. Tears filled my eyes, but anger burned deeper. Me, so you played me. I typed. Was I just something to fill your boredom? He replied instantly this time. Ajmal, don't twist it. I cared for you, but I can't ruin my life for something that was never real. Never real. The words echoed in my head like a scream. All those nights, those promises, those dreams, never real. I dropped my phone and sat on the floor, shaking. I had betrayed my husband, my woes, everything I once stood for a man who didn't even see it as love. For days, I couldn't eat or sleep. Vakas noticed I was quiet but didn't ask. Maybe he was too used to my silence. Maybe he had stopped noticing long ago. But deep inside, something started to change. The sadness began turning into something else, something sharper, stronger. I wanted answers. I wanted to know why. So one evening, I drove to the place where Ajmal worked, the cafe he once mentioned during our chats. I waited in the parking lot, watching people go in and out. My hands trembled as I saw him walk out, laughing with that same girl from the photo. He looked happy. Carefree. Like nothing had ever happened. When their car drove past me, I sunk lower in my seat, heart pounding. And that's when I noticed something. She wasn't just any girl. She had a ring on her finger. It was like lightning struck through me. Could it be? Was she the one he was actually with all along? I couldn't stop the thoughts racing through my mind. What if he had been lying since the very beginning? What if everything he told me, about living alone, about his struggles, about waiting for me, was just a story. The next day, I created a fake profile. I followed the girl. Her name was Amara. And within minutes, I saw something that confirmed my worst fear. A post from 2 weeks ago, a picture of her hand holding Ajmal's, captioned, "Forever starts now." My breath caught. Forever starts now. They were engaged. Everything inside me broke. Every message, every call, every time he said, "I love you," all of it had been a lie. I was just a secret, a distraction, a game. But what Ajmal didn't know was that I wasn't going to disappear quietly. The same woman who had once loved him blindly was about to teach him what betrayal really feels like. Because if he thought I was weak, he hadn't seen the version of me that heartbreak had just created. And deep inside, a new voice whispered, calm, cold, determined. "You wanted to play with feelings, Ajmal. Now it's my turn." This was no longer about love. It was about truth. About justice. About revenge, the kind that leaves no scars, only silence. Because when a woman's trust breaks, her forgiveness dies with it. And the next time Ajmal would see my name, it wouldn't be in his messages. It would be somewhere he'd never expect. But that's a story for the next chapter. If you're still watching, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional and shocking stories like this one. Days passed, but sleep didn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, his smile, his words, his lies. The pain didn't come all at once, it came in waves, soft but heavy, breaking over me again and again. At first, I wanted to cry. Then, I wanted to scream. But in the end, I did neither. I just sat there, staring at my reflection in the mirror, realizing something I had never seen before. The woman in the reflection wasn't weak. She was just quiet. Quietly dangerous. Ajmal had taken my emotions and turned them into ashes. But from those ashes, something else was rising, not hatred, but clarity. I spent the next few days pretending to move on. I didn't text him. I didn't call. I let silence do what anger couldn't. And that silence started to bother him. One night, after almost a week of no contact, he messaged me. "Ajmal, hey, you disappeared." I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Me? You told me it wasn't real. So I made it unreal." No reply came after that. But I knew him well enough to know that curiosity would eat him alive. And I was right. 2 days later, he texted again. "Ajmal, can we talk? Please." This time, I waited. Hours. Then I finally replied. "Me? Sure. Tomorrow, same cafe. The same place where everything had started." When I arrived the next day, I saw him already there, the same white shirt, the same smile, but this time it didn't melt me. It irritated me. "Sahiba," he said, standing up as I walked in. "You look different." "I am," I replied simply, sitting down. He looked nervous. "Listen, about that day, I didn't mean to hurt you. Things just got complicated." I smiled. "Complicated? You were engaged, Ajmal." "That's not complicated, that's betrayal." He looked down, guilt flashing across his face. "I didn't plan it that way." "Neither did I whispered. "But here we are." For a few moments, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was louder than words. Finally, he said, "Can we at least be friends?" I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. Friends. I repeated. You don't become friends with the person who taught you how to doubt love. He opened his mouth to say something, but I stopped him. You know what's funny, Ajmal? You made me feel alive again. And then, you made me wish I'd never met you. That's a kind of power not everyone gets to have. He looked confused, uncomfortable. Good. That was the point. When I left that cafe, I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt calm, dangerously calm. That night, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. For weeks, he had shared things with me, his plans, his projects, even his social media accounts. I knew his habits, his timing, and the people he worked with. I didn't want to destroy him. I just wanted him to feel exposed, the same way he had made me feel. So I began slowly. I started with the truth. From my fake profile, I reached out to Amara, his fiancée. I didn't accuse or threaten. I simply sent screenshots, messages between Ajmal and me, pictures, call logs. And at the end of it, just one line. You deserve to know who he really is. I didn't wait for her reply. I didn't need to. The next day, Ajmal called me 7 times in a row. I didn't answer any. On the 8th call, I finally picked up. His voice was trembling. Sahiba, what did you do? I just told the truth, I said calmly. You ruined my life, he shouted. I laughed softly. No, Ajmal. You ruined your own life. I just made sure you saw it clearly. He went silent for a long time, then whispered, I loved you. No, I replied. You loved control. And you lost it. I hung up. After that, he disappeared from social media, from messages, from everything. And for the first time in months, my phone stopped haunting me. But the story wasn't over yet. Because karma doesn't always work through others. Sometimes, it works through silence, through peace that looks like forgiveness, but isn't. Vakas started to notice the change in me. I wasn't distant anymore, but I wasn't the same either. I started cooking again, laughing softly, acting normal. But deep inside, I was different, calmer, stronger. One evening, as we sat together watching TV, he said something that stayed with me. You know, Sahiba, he said, for the first time in years, you seem free. I looked at him, a faint smile touching my lips. Maybe I finally learned how to let go. He nodded, not knowing how deep that line really went. That night, before sleeping, I opened my phone and scrolled through old photos, me and Ajmal, our chats, our smiles. Then I selected them all and hit delete. It felt like closing a door that should have never been opened. The next morning, Amara posted something on her account. A simple quote image. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. No tags. No names. But I understood perfectly. Ajmal had lost everything he took for granted, his fiancée, his respect, his peace. And I didn't have to raise my voice once. Sometimes, revenge isn't about hurting someone. It's about watching them face the truth they try to hide. A few weeks later, I received one last message from an unknown number. It said, I deserved it. You win. I stared at it for a long time. Then, without replying, I deleted it. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about ending. And in that ending, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time, peace. They say betrayal breaks people. Maybe that's true. But sometimes, it also rebuilds them into something stronger, wiser, and more dangerous. I wasn't the same Sahiba anymore. I was someone who had walked through fire and come out shining. And though my story had pain, it also had power, the kind that comes when you realize no one can truly destroy you unless you let them. So, if you ever fall for someone who makes your heart race but your mind uneasy, remember my story. Love can heal, but it can also teach. And sometimes, the lesson is the real gift. Because in the end, I didn't lose Ajmal, I lost my illusion. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. If you're still watching, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional and shocking stories like this one. Weeks passed after that final message from Ajmal. Life slowly started feeling normal again, or maybe I had just learned to breathe differently. The mornings were quieter now. I would wake up, make tea, and sit by the window watching the world move on without me. And strangely, I wasn't sad anymore. Sometimes, peace doesn't come when everything is fixed. It comes when you stop waiting for things to fix themselves. Vakas had started noticing the calm in me. One evening, as we were having dinner, he said softly, "You've changed, Sahiba." I looked up, meeting his eyes. "For better or worse?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "For real." I didn't know what he meant, but I knew he had seen the storm and the silence that came after. Maybe he didn't ask questions because he already knew some answers. After all, silence in a marriage sometimes speaks louder than confessions ever could. That night, I sat in my room, looking at my reflection once again. I thought about everything, about the woman I was before Ajmal, the one I became with him, and the one I had finally turned into after him. It was strange. He came into my life like a lesson disguised as love, and when he left, he took away all my illusions with him. I realized that I had been searching for love in the wrong place, in someone's attention, someone's words, when all along, I just needed to find it within myself. Vakas walked into the room quietly, holding two cups of tea. He handed one to me and said, "You're not the same woman I married 10 years ago." I smiled. "Neither are you the same man." He nodded. "Maybe that's not a bad thing." We sat in silence, sipping tea, no heavy words, no explanations. Just peace. And somehow, that was enough. Before sleeping that night, I took one last look at my phone. No messages, no notifications, just quiet. I scrolled through my gallery, all the pictures of Ajmal were gone, but I found one photo that made me stop. It was a picture of myself, taken months ago. My smile in that picture looked different, innocent, naive. I stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "Thank you for teaching me who I never want to be again." Then I deleted it. And just like that, the story ended, not with revenge or heartbreak, but with understanding. Because sometimes, closure doesn't come from getting even. It comes from letting go, from knowing that not every person who walks into your life is meant to stay. Some are meant to break you, so you can rebuild yourself stronger. Ajmal became a name I no longer reacted to. Vakas became the quiet constant I had forgotten to appreciate. And I became someone I could finally recognize again. The past didn't hurt anymore. It just existed, like an old scar that no longer aches, only reminds you of the strength it took to heal. So if anyone ever tells you that betrayal destroys love, tell them the truth. It doesn't. It just clears the fog, so you can see what love really means. And as I turned off the lights and closed my eyes that night, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. Real, quiet, earn peace. Because the best revenge is not anger. It's moving on without looking back. If you're still watching, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional and shocking stories like this one.